It looked like we might have been wrong about Dominaria United, but in two different ways. Why were you wrong?
In our last video I said that this set was going to be a blast, and at that point in time I actually believed it because we had seen Liliana of the Veil and we had seen a lot of other mythic spoilers that seemed really promising. But now, after having seen the entire set spoiled, I'm not so convinced anymore. I think the set lacks some mono-colored, enchantments, creatures, spells, whatever, because many of the things in this set is multicolored. There are a lot of multicolored permanents, and many of the monocolored stuff has this kick ability combining other colors, and that makes it less appealing, especially for some commander decks where you can't have different colors on a monocolored permanent.
I believe I was wrong because it might not have been as bad as I said it was. My initial opinion, and I still have that, is that it's a good set, it's a solid set, but it's not an amazing set. I believe the hype train got too fast before we really saw everything, all the cards in the set, and I think people hyped it up to more than it can actually live up to. So I think there was destined to be some, maybe not major, but slight disappointment. I do like a lot of the cards, I think it's a good set. But one thing I hadn't considered when I was giving my critique was the fact that this is the set that's building the foundation for the rest of the other stories in the 4-arch block. This 4-block structure means that Dominaria United has the slightly unfortunate task to build the world for the rest of the sets that are coming. So this means that Karn, if we get a later, Power Stone mechanics or more Power Stone synergies, he will be a lot more powerful in the coming sets. And maybe also that Timeless Lotus, it seems a little weak right now, but probably it won't be weak if we get a lot of Power Stone synergy effects. That means we can tap a lot of them and suddenly cast it pretty early on. So I haven't completely changed my opinion, but I do think that the set might be stronger when combined with the others than I previously stated.
So all in all, maybe this is just an average set. We know that Wizard does this. They tend to, in the block structure, have some weaker sets and some really powerful sets. And I think Dominaria United might be on a low average, and then we, if we're lucky of course, we might build up from here. It's going to be interesting to see what future set has in store for us. In Dominaria United, the collector boosters have been really hyped due to the legends inserted into 3% of the collector boosters. We've taken a closer look on the collector boosters to find out what those pull rates on the mythic cards really are. We have looked at 12 collector boosters. So far, 123 mythic cards have been pulled from the 12 collector boosters, which on average gives you 10.25 mythic cards per booster box. Some of these cards are from the commander set. So if you remove the mythic cards from the commander set, you're down to 82 cards. So that means approximately 1/3 of all the mythic cards you pull from a collector box are going to be cards that is going to appear also in the commander decks. And lastly, there's hope for us because Liliana of the Veil is not that elusive actually. She is hard to pull, but out of all the 12 boxes we've seen, 4 Lilianas of the Veils have been pulled. The most rare card actually is Timeless Lotus with only 1 pull. That means that in less than 1% of the collector packs there will be a Timeless Lotus, at least so far on these preliminary data. So are you a big Joda fan? Because then I have good news for you, because between these 4 cards, meaning Joda, Soul of Windgrace, Savitri and Torsten, they actually make out 30% of all mythic cards pulled so far. So if you have a big love for these 4 cards, great news. If not, well, you might be disappointed when you open a collector booster box. But another little good nugget of news. In the 12 collector boxes we saw opened, there were actually 3 legend cards. 3 original legend cards. 2 common and 1 uncommon. So they are not impossible to pull, you just need to be a little bit lucky.
A lot of people were really tired, myself included, that Wizards again decided to do yet another special variant and then decided just immediately afterwards not to make it very special at all. I'm of course talking about those textured cards. But what we can see now, if you've seen a few of these collector box openings, is that it's definitely not the same textured as we were presented with for Double Masters 2022. That was a highly textured card. It was textured all over, the central art piece. This is definitely not the same. The glass stain is really beautiful, but it seems like that's not actually where the texture went. It went instead on the line of the name of the card and on the information box, and perhaps also I think down on the power and toughness. So this is not at all comparable to the versions that we got in Double Masters 2022. We had to see a lot of collector box opening videos to actually see the difference because it's very, very discreet. I think this bodes well for both this set and for Double Masters, because if you bought a lot of textured cards to hold as an investment, I think your investment is more safe than if they'd done something identical.
So what does all this mean for the long run of Dominaria United in the collectible sense?
I think that we have, as I already said, a really collectible product. There's a lot of interesting cards. There's some glass stained, special treatments that are really, nostalgic and feel a lot like Dominaria. And I think a lot of people want to collect those, and especially some of their favorite cards. For me, it's Squee. For you, it might be Shouldered. I think there's a lot of collectability, and I think there's a lot of investability, especially collector boxes. They have this tingly allure of maybe drawing one of those Lost Legends cards.
And as we said in the previous video, some of the things you need to watch out for when determining which products to buy and keep sealed is, of course, mystery cards or
chase cards
or whatever. And are there some powerful cards that retain value over time? And is there a good land cycle? And the land cycle in Dominaria United is not great at all, unfortunately. And to make matters worse, there's a high probability that this land cycle is going to continue into the Brothers' War.
We got the first 6 pain lands in this Dominaria United. A lot of people have been saying that we'll get the next 4 pain lands in the coming Brothers' War. And I don't think from an investment perspective, pain lands are not what you want to see. They're relatively low in price and they're not that great. Personally, not a favorite of mine, but I do know a lot of people like playing with them, and they do solve the current standard when you're playing multicolored sets. So I think it's nice for players, but as far as investment goes, I would have loved to see something else. I would really have loved to see some allied fetches.
So all in all, the set checks enough boxes to be worth to keep sealed. In the future, it's going to be forgotten. This set came after the Double Masters 2022, which also kind of puts it in a bad light. In the future, this set is going to have original legend cards, glass stained, a new textured treatment.
Yeah, textured treatment,
so a lot of good cards and a linear enough to Veil, of course. But the land cycle, you'll have to find that somewhere else.